This chef doesn't appear to know that the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics position on veganism is based on 112 studies. It's not an argument from authority, it's essentially a huge meta-analysis.
Unfortunately, the AO and the previous leaders were too biased. I'll be happy to make a video debunking the studies one by one if you would like.
It would have to be a very long video given the amount of studies involved, though. Smile.
The only rules that really matter are these. What a man can do and what a man can't do.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, and we are back. This one is a little bit off the cuff, no script was written, and it's basically a response to a comment that I got on my original video. Didn't think I would have to do this video because I did say that the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics study is made by people who are totally biased, and so we cannot really trust them. But this gentleman did make a point in saying that we should also debunk the claims that they made based on the studies that they presented. That's true, you know, in a way. If McDonald's would launch a study saying that McDonald's food is healthy and properly well-planned diet of McDonald's food is suitable for all stages of life, we would doubt it, you know, we would be suspicious, but still, we should debunk the data, not just the people. So thank you so much, Magar6, for your comments, and as promised, here is the response. I hope you enjoy it. So the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics publishes this study where they reference around 45 to 50 claims. Some of them are in regards to the environment and some of them are just repeated, so I slimmed down basically to 40 claims that they make and that I want to debunk. If you don't want to watch the whole video, here it is. Here's the short response in Excel form. As you can see, only 3 out of the 40 claims do I recognize, and I think they have some validity when it comes to veganism. All the other claims are either just not relevant to health, not really based on veganism, but on vegetarian, for example, which we all know it's two worlds apart. And they also confuse plant-based with veganism. Plant-based foods can still have animal foods in it. I know this is confusing. Vegans like to say that veganism is a plant-based diet. Yes, it is, but plant-based diets also includes animal foods. I'm talking purely about veganism, and if this diet is actually adequate for all stages of life, and it has been proven so. First, do no harm. If something has not been proven to be safe, we should not be recommending it. So as you can see, the statement, appropriately planned vegan diet, is just a ridiculous sentence to make. Like I said, you could plan a McDonald's only diet and still lose weight and be healthy as long as you appropriately plan it. An appropriately planned diet in general should be helpful, but the thing is, we don't know what an appropriately planned vegan diet actually is. The fact that vegan diets have to rely on supplements means that they cannot be done prior to 1960, where B12 was readily available for everyone. And until very recently, we didn't even know about certain nutrients such as choline or taurine, which begs the question of what other nutrients may we not be aware of yet. Who knows, we will find out next year that there was a nutrient in animal foods that we need, and it's not on vegan diets, and we have not been supplementing it. And so recommending these to pregnant women, lactating women, children, teenagers is ridiculous. Once you're an adult, you can do whatever you want with your body, as long as you don't force it upon everyone else. But doctors at least should not be recommending it an experimental diet. And without further ado, let's just jump right into the studies. The first claim, 3% of the population is vegetarian and about 46% of vegetarians are vegan. This was an online questionnaire of 2,000 people. The data itself is not even shown. The website is pro-vegetarian, so we don't know if this is really true or not. However, this does not relate to health, and so I think this can be cut out as irrelevant. Just because a lot of people do it does not mean it's healthy, because the study did not ask how long these people have been vegan. Claim number 2. Sought vegan alternatives. Again, this is irrelevant, it does not regard to health, basically just saying that vegan alternatives would be better accepted if they focus on taste and looks rather than the ethical arguments. It does not really regard to health. Statement number 3. The American Institute of Cancer Research encourages a plant-based diet. Again, plant-based is not vegan. It can be vegan, but it does not mean that is even vegan or even vegetarian. The quotes, get started by covering at least 2/3 of your plate with plant foods such as whole grains, vegetables, fruits and beans. The remaining 1/3 of your plate may be filled with animal-based protein-rich foods such as seafood, poultry, dairy, and occasionally with lean red meat. So as you can see, the American Institute of Cancer Research says that plant-based is 1/3 animal foods, which a lot of vegans, and I hope all of the vegans, would say it's not a vegan diet. This is actually something that they quote that was supposed to be beneficial to veganism, but because it actually encourages animal-based protein, it's actually an anti-vegan argument, so great job, guys. Fourth claim, in the 2015-2020 dietary guidelines for Americans, vegetarian diets are recommended as one of the healthful dietary patterns. So this report was based on the USDA food patterns from 2010 dietary guidelines, and of course self-reporting vegetarians. Again, not vegan. Vegetarian is not vegan. It's so far away from veganism. Just the fact that vegetarians can have eggs and dairy already covers basically all the flaws that vegan diets cause. And so yeah, vegetarian can be healthy, vegan cannot. That's my claim. The USDA guidelines also approves of vegetarian diets, but it does not really look into vegan diets. Vegetarian diets are healthier than standard American diets. The SAD diet is probably one of the worst, if not the worst diet in the world. Is veganism healthier than standard American diets? Well, I would say that in the short term, maybe yes, but in the long term, you will lack a lot of nutrients, which can be more detrimental than the SAD diet. This document also shows that vegetarians eat less sugar and they limit the calories intakes, which of course leads to better health in general. So neither of these quotes, neither of these reports actually looks into veganism on its own. The first site mentions that milk in vegetarian diets can be replaced with fortified soy milk, so basically supplementation, but no research was actually given to bolster this argument. So yeah, we need a citation for this. So in my view, this is an irrelevant point. It does not address veganism, nor does it look into any vegan studies. The same document goes to say that limiting meat is associated with low cardiovascular disease, but in the same paragraph also mentions much of this research on eating patterns has grouped together all meats and poultry, regardless of fat content or processing, through some evidence, has identified lean meats and lean poultry in healthy eating patterns. So basically saying that, we don't really look into what the quality of the meat that people are eating, and we do recognize that some meat is actually healthy, and in the same document also recommends dairy and seafood. Seafood, which includes fish and shellfish, is associated with reduced cardiac deaths among individuals with or without pre-existing cardiovascular disease. It does not address veganism at all, at least not in a scientific way that it can be proven, but it also addresses animal foods as healthy for you. Fifth claim, vegetarian tracking device, irrelevant, it doesn't really address health. Claim number 6.
Hey guys, this is Roger from the future. As I was editing this video, I realized that I made a big mistake here on claim number 6, so we're just going to skip it, and we're going to go to point number 7, which is basically the same thing.
Claim number 7. Protein intake can be adequate in a vegetarian diet. Use the same references as before. Can vegans get enough protein? I'll have to give this one to the vegans because current accepted knowledge says that yes, you can by mixing and matching different plant foods like grains and legumes. It does seem to hit the needed amino acids composition for the average sedentary person. This is very important. So vegan diets, plant-based food on their own can probably feed a sedentary lifestyle. I'm just talking about protein alone. Is there enough protein in vegan foods? Yes. Can your body use it? Debatable. But I will give this one to the vegans because the statement itself is not really wrong. Vegetarian diets of course can have eggs and milk, cheese, which is very rich in protein and has a very high score of Dias. Vegan foods, personally I don't think so. But I guess if you force yourself to eat more and more, you will get enough protein. 8. Athletes get enough protein. The first book just takes into account the total protein measured in regards to nitrogen content, but we also know that plants have higher nitrates components than animal foods. This will skew the results, but we all know that Dias is very important. By mixing plants, of course, you can get some proteins to complement each other, but is it enough for athletes? This is proven in the real world where vegan diets do not translate into strength. No one from the top 100 is vegan from birth. I would say not even top 1000. People who are strong on a vegan diet, they went through puberty and they went into their adulthood basically on either a vegetarian or omnivore diet. I don't know of any strong athlete that is vegan from birth, and because of the lack of information, I don't think you can make this claim. On the contrary, right now, it's looking like the opposite is true. The second source mentions the digestibility of protein from flour. Peanut butter, tofu are all 90% plus, and this is 100% false. The peanut butter has a digest of 46%. Okay, so this second claim is a false claim, and again, you cannot make this claim based on assumptions of what the food has and not based on what our bodies can actually use. And so this is a false claim, or at least an unproven claim. 9. Vegan diets are typically absent of DHA and EPA. This is correct. This is a correct statement, and it is anti-vegan. Why would you follow a diet that has absence of nutrients? I don't know. 10. The clinical relevance of reduced DHA and EPA in vegans is unknown. What the fuck? Excuse me? Is unknown in vegans? No, in everyone is known. Vegans have been shown to have lower DHA and EPA than omnivores. Time and time again. Low DHA and EPA has been associated with Alzheimer's, fetal development issues, and cognitive impairment. The source that they provide just simply states the same fact but does not back it with a study or any other sources, so you can just ignore it. Again, no proof is given. And then the second source is a study on supplementing vegans with an algae supplement. It does not qualify the statement low DHA and EPA effects are unknown. They claim something without proof. It's most likely false, but because we don't have proof, we cannot say it's true either. And because we don't know if it's true or false, we don't know if it's harmful or not, we should not be recommending this to anyone. So why would we say that this is adequate for all stages of life? We don't know, and if we don't know, we should not be recommending it. 11. Vegetarian and vegan children do not appear to experience impairment. The sources of this statement do not mention any vegan children. There is absolutely nothing corroborating this statement. From this point on, all of a sudden, vegan diets are no longer adequate for all stages of life. You have not shown this to be true, and so you should not be recommending it to anyone. Claim 12. ALA to DHA and EPA conversion is inefficient and affected by many factors. Followed up with, for vegetarians and vegans, it may be prudent to ensure somewhat higher intakes of ALA. Correct. So again, we have an anti-vegan statement on a pro-vegan study. Ridiculous. Why are we recommending this to anyone? Claim 13. Vegetarians get more iron than omnivores. Again, this does not mention vegans. It mentions absorption being lower in vegetarians. Claim 14. The iron stores of vegetarians are typically below those of non-vegetarians. Lower serum ferritin levels may be an advantage because elevated serum ferritin levels have independently been associated with the risk of developing metabolic syndrome. I'm sorry, you misspelled anemia over there, buddy. Vegetarians have been shown to suffer from lower ferritin levels than omnivores, and this is only aggravated in vegans due to no heme iron in their diets. This source shows the lower average ferritin levels in vegetarians, which indicates a higher prevalence of anemia. The claim that elevated serum ferritin may cause metabolic syndrome comes from this source, which correlates ferritin levels to metabolic syndrome. No other factors were taken into account. Correlation is not causation. There could be something here, I'll admit, but what was their sugar consumption? Did they smoke? Were they drinking? People who eat less food in general will have lower ferritin levels, but also less sugar consumption. So, is it the iron or the sugar? Claim 15. The study then goes on and read about heme iron and the absorption capabilities of humans, but it's really irrelevant. Vegetarians and vegans may consume the same or more iron than omnivores, but their blood levels are constantly lower. All the theorizing in the world does not change the fact that if you have less iron in your blood, you're at more risk for anemia. So, vegan diet might not be that good. Claim 16. Serum zinc concentrations are lower but within normal range. Even the sources for this statement say, compared to their respective non-vegetarian control groups, adult male and female vegetarians have lower dietary zinc intakes and serum zinc concentrations. And the absorption of zinc in plants is somewhat lower, which on average means that zinc depletion is more prevalent in vegetarians. And it does not mention vegans, which probably is even worse. Claim 17. Plant-based diets can be low in iodine. Again, a claim against veganism. We all know the benefits of iodine in our diets. 18. Calcium intakes of vegans vary widely and sometimes fall below recommendations. This one, I'm on the fence. Calcium should not be a problem for vegans as long as they keep their strontium and oxalate consumption low, as such vegetables may interfere with calcium absorption. Also, taking vitamin D supplements seems to help calcium absorption. Vegans have been shown to have lower bone mineral density than omnivores, but omnivores tend to have a higher body weight, which leads to high bone mineral density. So this claim that vegans usually have lower bone mineral density may be a non-factor as long as they have enough. I gave this one to vegans because in theory you should be able to get enough calcium on a vegan diet. We also have studies showing that vegans have higher prevalence of bone fractures and hip fractures. The data is still a bit confused on that point. Claim 19. Vitamin D status depends on sunlight exposure and intake of vitamin D fortified foods or supplements. You either live where the sun is all year round or you have to supplement. They also claim that dietary and supplemental sources of vitamin D are commonly required to meet the needs of this nutrient. Basically saying that vegan diets, vitamin D can be quite low, and of course, vegan diets also do not have vitamin D3 that you do need for your body. Claim number 20 was regarding B12. There's nothing I have to say here. Claim 21. Vegetarian, vegans, and obesity. So basically saying that vegetarians and vegans tend to have lower rates of obesity. We do have an overconsumption problem in the developed world. And because veganism is a fast mimicking diet, it could be a solution for the obesity, but only if it's done for short periods of time and if focused on whole foods. Conversely, a person can be obese and malnourished at the same time, so this solution might not be for everyone. Still, I would say this is a positive point in regards to veganism. Vegetarian, vegans, and cardiovascular disease. Most of the sources provided are in regards to a plant-based and or vegetarian diets, which include animal products, and they do not include vegan studies. The vegan studies that are referenced are veganism in relation to a non-controlled diet, which again results in a lower consumption of sugar, processed food, and lower BMI in vegans. But this does not really prove that vegan diets are healthy. They are just saying that if you reduce your sugar consumption, then you have less cardiovascular disease, and this of course is a given. And of course, such diets low in processed food and low sugar consumption is not exclusive to veganism. Veganism is not the only diet nor the best diet to achieve these results of low cardiovascular disease. Of course, the best ones are the ones that we see in the blue zones, which include animal foods. Even though veganism is a little bit better than no diet whatsoever, or the standard American diet, they are not the best diet. Point 23, vegetarians have half the diabetes than omnivores. This was of course a questionnaire study. It's based on the 7-day Adventist study. The determining factor in diabetes, as we all know, is insulin, and insulin is affected by blood sugar. Blood sugar is spiked when consuming sugar and carbohydrate-rich foods or high glycemic foods. Veganism combats this by reducing the amount of sugar and processed food consumption. However, as we can see that meat has a glycemic value of 0. It does not spike your sugar at all. I also want to address this thing about questionnaires. Using questionnaires to prove your nutritional studies is just ridiculous, and let me show you an example of one of these ridiculous questionnaires. One of their cited sources states that walnuts reduce the chance of type 2 diabetes. The study was made with a questionnaire that had 130 questions and was made once every 4 years. Bro, I can barely remember what I had to eat last week. Can you remember what you had to eat 4 years ago? Claim 24. Furthermore, a vegan diet appeared to confer a great protection against overall cancer's incidence than any other dietary pattern. This is a false truth. Blue zone diets were not taken into account. Again, they are comparing veganism to a non-controlled diet. They did not compare against carnivore, low carb, keto, Atkins. So yes, it's a greater protection against other dietary patterns observed, but they did not observe all the dietary patterns, which again does not prove that veganism is healthy in the long run, nor should be recommended to everyone. Claim 25. Recently, vegan diets were reported to confer about 35% lower risk of prostate cancer. Again, this is compared to the standard American diet. It shows correlation, not causation. It messes up with confounders. Is it an absolute risk? Is it a relative risk? This is not proof of health. It does, of course, help us see that maybe more research is needed for this topic, but again, not proof. Claim 26. These kind of studies have consistently shown that a regular consumption of fruit, vegetables, legumes, or whole grains is associated with a reduced risk of certain cancers. So again, they give you a 537-page document with no reference or mention to where they pulled this statement from. But in the same source, I could find a quote that says, as with Mediterranean dietary patterns, and probably for broadly the same nutritional reasons, traditional Southern and Eastern Asian dietary patterns are associated with relatively low rates of obesity, type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, and some cancer. Basically saying, animal foods help with all this disease. And if you use this document to prove that red meat causes cancer, then
The authors state in the press release that red meat has been identified as a probable carcinogen. Let me stress here, as one news source responsibly pointed out, red meat has not been established as a carcinogen. Let me repeat that. Red meat has not been established as a cause of cancer. It's been weakly associated with cancer. But ice cream consumption can be associated with shark attacks because more people eat ice cream in the summer when they go in the water, and I haven't seen any panic newscasters advising everyone to put down the rocky road. More on that in a moment.
Claim 37, epic study regarding fiber equals less colorectal cancer. This was a questionnaire from the 90s. It's not vegan related, so doesn't matter. Claim 28, processed meat consumption and risk of colorectal cancer. Processed meat consumption was also seen to increase the risk of dying from cancer.
Red meat has not been established as a carcinogen. Let me repeat that. Red meat has not been established as a cause of cancer.
Claim 29, osteoporosis. Inadequate intakes of vitamin D and B12 have been linked to low bone mineral density, increased fracture risk, and osteoporosis. So basically, a point against vegan diets. Why? Because vegan diets have the lowest vitamin D and vitamin B12. Claim number 30, limited research indicates that where food access is adequate, vegetarian pregnancy outcomes such as birth weight and pregnancy duration are similar to those in non-vegetarian pregnancies. So this source states that no research was identified and focused on the birth outcomes of vegan versus omnivore mothers. So again, it does not mention veganism. Source number 2, the lack of randomized studies prevents us from distinguishing the effects of diets from confounding factors. So basically the sources that they provide for this quote, nothing has yet been shown regards to vegan mothers and vegan diets. So it's a fake claim. Like, why are, oh my god, this makes me so angry. Why are we recommending this to people without putting it to the test first? Claim 31. Use of vegetarian diet in the first trimester resulted in lower risk of excessive gestational weight gain in one study. Maternal diets high in plant foods may reduce the risk of complications of pregnancy such as gestational diabetes. The source providers do not mention vegan mothers, only mentions exercise and more plant foods than the standard American diet. They do not mention vegan diets at all. So again, this is irrelevant for veganism. Claim 32. A low dose of iron supplement is recommended in pregnancy. Special consideration is required for iron, zinc, vitamin B12, EPA and DHA. Pregnant and lactating vegetarians need regular and adequate dietary and or supplemental sources of B12. So basically saying that vegan diets can be harmful. You may not get everything you need. Claim 33. Infants of vegetarian women have lower plasma DHA concentration, and breast milk of vegetarians is lower in DHA. You guys admit that vegan and vegetarian children have lower DHA, and you are still spouting the benefits of veganism? Am I missing something? Claim 34. Other benefits of a vegetarian diet in childhood and adolescence include greater consumption of fruits and vegetables, fewer sweets and salty snacks, and lower intakes of total unsaturated fat. Basically saying that if you don't eat poison, you are healthier. Oof, I really never thought of that. Amazing discovery. Well done, guys. But again, this is not veganism. This does not prove that veganism is healthy. It just says that you should reduce processed food. 35. Protein needs of vegan children may be slightly higher than those of non-vegan children because of differences in protein digestibility and amino acid composition. Again, we see the relevance of diets when it comes to vegan diets. A teenager's stomach or a children's stomach may not be big enough to eat all the protein that they need if you account for diets. Studies have shown stunted growth in children and teenagers brought up vegan. This study also shows that vegans have a better cardiovascular profile based on LDL, but also increased risk of nutrition deficiencies and shorter in stature on average. Claim 36. Iron and zinc status of children on restricted plant-based diets should be monitored. Supplemental iron and zinc may be needed in such cases. So basically, more supplements. 37. Nutrient intakes of older vegetarians appear to be similar to or better than of those of older non-vegetarians. Appears to be is not really an argument. I couldn't find the relevant study. The source that they give you is just huge. It's strange to me to think that if in all other stages of life B12, iron, vitamins D, zinc, B2 and vitamin A are in smaller amounts, why would this change in older adults? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Claim 38. It is important that all other people choose nutrient-dense diets. Some evidence suggests that protein is used less efficiently with aging, which may translate to higher protein requirements. Do you know which diets are actually more dense in nutrients? Organ meats, eggs, seafood, not vegan diets. Claim 39. Older people synthesize vitamin D less efficiently and are likely to require supplements, especially if sun exposure is limited. Again, saying that vitamin D might be a problem, and you know which diet is the lowest in vitamin D? Veganism. And then claim number 40, atrophic gastritis is common among people over the age of 50 years and can result in decreased absorption of vitamin B12 from animal products. Therefore, many older people, regardless of diet, may require vitamin B12 supplements. This is not vegan related. Just because some people have a disease that requires supplementation does not make veganism a worthy diet. So there you go. The 40 claims in regards to health that this study provides. First thing doctors have to do is do no harm. We do not experiment on people without knowing if it's going to work or not, unless it's a last case scenario. But we cannot say it's healthy without being tested. We have to warn people this may not be healthy because it lacks so many nutrients. Not just B12, guys. Don't fool yourselves. It's not just B12. And yes, you could say, oh, just take a supplement. But I've mentioned it in my previous video. Supplements might not work, or supplements might interfere with your body in a negative way, or with even other supplements in a negative way. Vitamin C is considered to be an antioxidant, but vitamin C in excess is an oxidant. We still don't know. Nutritional science is such a young science. Nutrition is still a baby, and we should not be recommending experimental diets to others. Veganism prior to 1960 was impossible. We don't have yet generation proofs that veganism works for humans. We should not be recommending this to people who are growing or people who are growing people. If an adult wants to follow this diet, be my guest. Amazing. You are basically offering yourself as a guinea pig. But people need to know that this diet is still not proven to be safe. Thank you very much for watching. This has been a pleasure to debunk. I spent quite a few nights with very little sleep just investigating these stupid sources. My god, how can you recommend? Imagine recommending a library as a source. What a bunch of idiots. Anyway, that's it. Epidemiological studies. Claim 36, epidemiological studies. I don't know how to say this word. Epidemiological studies have epidemiological studies of epidemiology. Epidemiological epidemiological